So, please share a personal experience that led you to care about climate or environmental issues, and how does it affect you in a daily context?
Okay. So 14 years ago, when my folks purchased land where our home now is and still stands, it was right next to a lake. And I vividly remember there was migratory birds. It was full of life. Fast forward to a year ago, hardly any rain. Imagine no monsoon, essentially, right? And the lake dried out. But even before it dried out, birds were no longer there. It was dead. It was dead for years because a lot of the industries around, as well as many of the homes, were sending their sewage and industrial waste into the lake. And slowly the lake just became this cesspool that could not support any life. And so the entire feeling of being in that neighborhood changed, from waking up to those bird sounds and seeing so much of life looking at when you look at the lake, to the lake being looking like became a ghost of what it was, right? See, and this happened in a process that went parallel with development, with human settlements. Because when we moved in there, when we got that plot of land and made a house, we were one of the few buildings around. There wasn't much of construction, and it was still, like before it became a town and overly settled with humans and without proper waste management and stuff, right? So now, it's become this dead lake, and uh, a lot of these migratory birds are a big part of how this ecosystem came up. Of how the bird droppings carried seeds, it carried certain kinds of trees, and so that history of the migratory pattern of birds, for instance, is tied to the history of the land and what grows out of the land, and it's very interconnected. So when that whole thing gets disrupted, there's a chain of disruption that goes down and affects multiple species, and right down to our food chain and the price of our food, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's so observing that and that change play out in front of my eyes over 15 years, was it bothered me and made me really want to do something at that local level, which I'm still working on. And that's one example of how I started something that moved me to see these concepts that we're talking about, see it happening in front of my eyes. Moved me to take action. Anand Malligavad was a foundation. You can find him on TED Talk. So he's also known as the Lake Man of India. He you know uh, ended up taking up this project of this lake, after the last previous summer, and the lake started to be rejuvenated, and now it's kind of back to life somewhat. Although it's taken its for the water level to build up, it's taking some time, and in that time there has been a depletion of our groundwater and our water supply, because that was the only recharge point around, and it was completely dry when the water was emptied out to remake the lake. So, I mean, this was a case of an NGO partnering with the local governance bodies to bring about this change, and he has worked with several lakes around Bangalore. But one of the things that has happened, and one of the debates around this kind of lake rejuvenation strategies, is also around the fact that, so how what he has done was, the effluents that were coming into the lake, he created a canal around the lake to kind of deflect those effluents, send them around the lake, and redirect them without actually coming in contact with the lake. Which, so yeah, so the now, what has happened, and then he put some floating beds. Some things were constructed on that bund to kind of clean the water somewhat before it goes downstream. But now, what has happened is we're facing issues with like flooding, the sewage water coming, rising up too high, during the rainy season, especially because people continue to abuse the bund, uh, which now, because of a lot of waste and things being dumped into those bunds and effluents being released into those bunds, it's become full of silt and kind of blocked in places and issues like that. So it's kind of feels like we diverted the problem from the lake, but in some ways magnified the problem, because now this bund is flowing right beside our homes and there's a stench, and caused a hygiene problem, right? So it's kind of just given us a stopgap solution to that's morphed into a different kind of problem. So we've not. It's not a solution that has really that is ideal, and it's also debated whether it's scientific to kind of block all water sources from the lake, because it is a groundwater recharge pod,
Right.
right? So, because naturally a lake is supposed to receive water, and that's how it sustains as a lake. But if you cut it off,
Yeah.
right? So there's that problem, and the fact that the bigger issue here that we don't have a proper sewage disposal system. We have open sewers across India. That's kind of the level of infrastructure that is somewhat that we've accepted as normal, even unfortunately. So I think, yeah. So there is both the support that we received, of which did address one problem of the lake not being clean. Uh, However, it's not a complete solution, and
Yeah.
we need. I think we need a more bigger intervention from government bodies to set up sewage treatment plants. Our STP in our community has been defunct for a good 10 years, and no one has taken responsibility to fix that as far as the concerned authorities. In spite of us bringing it up many times, they say they don't have the budget for it and things like that. So yeah, there's strengths,
Yeah.
as well as room for where things the system could serve us better.
Thank you.
I hope that
Yeah, it answered the question.
answers the question.